All right, guys, we're about to get right into it. 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 So we have a situation here, man, where Mr. Trump has just been making some very, he's making some very controversial statements, controversial moves. Some of which, you can applaud him for, especially the USAID, where he exposed all this money that was being allocated to countries worldwide for regime change and war and money laundering, and $270 million going to the Soros Foundation to promote sex changes and all types of crap. So he cut that. So we're like, all right, cool, man. Shout out to you, man. Shout out to you. So he did something good. And then it comes to the Middle East, right, where it's just like blatant that he has, he's doing what the Netanyahu and his far right wing Zionist extremists want him to do, right? Or maybe it's a plan. I don't know. Like the guys, he knows how to shock the world with his announcements and his bullshit. A lot of the stuff he says is for shock value. Everybody and their moms knows that there's no way that he claims that he wants to control the Gaza Strip, the U.S., so it becomes U.S. territory. Without getting American boots on the ground to try and remove the Hamas from Gaza, which is the IDF obviously failed. And there's still probably around 50 to 60,000 Hamas members in Gaza operating in tunnels. And so you have a situation where Trump now wants to control the Gaza Strip, allegedly, which it'll never happen, but we'll see. Let's let him ride the wave. And he's doubling down now, like he was on Air Force One, doubling down. Let's get into the video.
Buying and owning Gaza. As far as us rebuilding it, we may give it to other states in the Middle East to build sections of it. Other people may do it through our auspices. But we're committed to owning it, taking it.
Uh-oh.
And making sure that Hamas doesn't move back. There's nothing to move back into. The place is a demolition site. It'll be, the remainder will be demolished. Everything's demolished. I mean, you can't live in those buildings right now. They're very unsafe. But we'll make it into a very good site for future.
Okay, so he's talking about it as like some type of real estate project that's gonna go down over there. It's like, so, he's but the reality of it is, guys, there is a huge economical advantage controlling that region, especially it being on the Mediterranean Sea and the amount of trade that flows through India and Saudi Arabia and the Gulf, and the amount of the pipeline you can build that can reach that coast. A lot of people are scared to do business in that region, especially drill oil, and so there's a lot of oil in that region as well. Because of obviously the liabilities with the whole conflicts going on and stuff like that. So whoever conquers that area, that region, it's a plus economically, right? Like you gotta think, man. There's billionaires that drill in that region, or have been attempted to, right? But there's always like these restrictions, these laws, and Israel wants to control the whole thing. And even China, they went and bought the Lebanese port after it exploded. And they were trying to, sneak their way into that region as well. So there's some real shit going on, man. In that fucking area, there's a lot of resources, a lot of oil, a lot of trade that can happen there. It's very many tourist locations, especially religious sites. You got to think like all the prophets and all the major religions walk those lands, and there's a lot of money to be made there. Right, but this conflict, war, has kind of prevented any of that from happening. And then you have the IDF continuously now So the defense minister came out and said that the Hannibal directive was implemented October 7th. Now you have an IDF general coming out and they're admitting that they were shelling civilians, Israeli civilians, during October 7th to avoid them from being hostages. Look at this.
But why is the destruction then? I'm sorry. Why is the destruction? It looks like more like
a cause of our tanks.
Look at that.
Attack.
Fired on them.
Yeah, because they were blocked in these houses, and we need to conquer back the whole settlement, and it couldn't be happened without the tanks.
Okay.
So how many were here, and then how many survived? How many did you?
No one survived from this house. From other buildings, we rescued many, but from this house, 19 people died. Among them, 8 children evacuated.
But what?
So they implemented the Hannibal directive, and there's a lot of stories coming out saying like, hey man, there was at least several people that were dying from the Apache helicopters that you deployed. And they were Israeli citizens. What was going on? Did you guys mistaken them for Hamas or Gazans, or what was the deal with that? And dude, you will be surprised how many of these people have come out and said that. They're admitting, they're like, yes, we did that. We killed Israeli civilians at the to prevent them because of the potential of them possibly, being hostages to where we have to negotiate something, in the future war. So it's wild, man. So Trump was at the Super Bowl, guys, and he was at the Super Bowl. People went nuts, because this is like the first president that ever came to a Super Bowl game, right? So dude's outside. He's not tripping on it, especially with all the, he's being threatened with assassination, all these threats against his life. He's really outside, my man. He's outside, guys. And there was a story that came out recently, and this is actually, they're just now admitting it, that there was a plot to assassinate him, and Trump had to get into a decoy helicopter because there was a serious attempt. Now they're claiming it was Iran, of course. Let me pull this video up here. They're saying they thwarted an Iranian assassination attempt. And it's something about he had to get into Steve Witkoff's plane as a decoy because they had a surface-to-air missile that they snuck in, and they were gonna go ahead and launch missiles onto his plane. And then you got to think, like, there's this whole, and obviously we know it's not Iran. We know who the culprits are, right? But it kind of ties into what's going on recently with all these planes that have been randomly just they've been random because which has never happened in history, where these planes are just fucking exploding everywhere, and they're veering off, right? There's been at least like 6 or 7 cases of this happening. And then you have this story come out where an official from the intelligence agency has admitted that there was a serious threat on Trump's life. According to them, it was Iran, but we're not buying that shit, right? he made the warning that he said that he was going to obliterate Iran if they ever attempt to assassinate him. So he was boarding Trump Force One, and there was a mysterious drone that I guess they had to shoot down because it was targeting the it was in the airspace, and so he had to the Secret Service ran in there and pulled him out of the plane and threw him on a decoy type plane where like some secret, fucking 007 type shit, because it was like a serious assassination attempt that happened as he was I think he was boarding his plane to go to Mar-a-Lago. So he was in California, I think, or some state. I think it was California, and he was boarding his plane to go to Mar-a-Lago, and all this transpired. Yeah, so there's been at least, guys, there's almost a weekly assassination attempt on Trump that they're not really talking about. It's kind of on the D-low, and mainstream media is not really picking it up. They're hearing like little rumors and shit, and it's just going all over the social media. So there's like weekly attempts of people trying to get rid of Trump. So it's because he's pissing off the right people, guys. He's pissing off the right people to do that type of shit, right? Exposing the treasury, all these sick freaks that are money laundering all this money on the big Ukraine Russia war cover up. So yeah, major developments, guys. Major developments.